The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the country. It's Mark from SolidCAM. We'll begin our 30 minutes of free training today for SolidCAM Live. With me, as always, fresh from his holiday, is Kevin Rankle. Hey, Kevin.
Hey, how's it going? I think everybody's fresh from their holiday.
Yeah, so we were on a bit of a hiatus last week for Canada Day, July 4th, Independence Day, whatever you guys are calling it. And I guess in between, we just kind of said, whatever. So we'll be doing our next class today, starting for the month. So we have been renewed, as you guys probably know, for the rest of the month. So we'll be doing this every day. And today, I thought we would cover something that I got actually a request for this, and there's a new video on our YouTube channel on this from Facebook, one of our Facebook pages, where one of our international customers was asking for this particular thing. And I wasn't sure if anyone else knew about it, so I thought we'd cover it today. And it is the tool path editor. Now, a lot of you, if you've seen this before, you might not have used it. I've never seen it before myself, to be honest, so I thought it was pretty interesting that you can do this sort of functionality inside SolidCAM. And essentially what it is you can actually edit each data point in the toolpath. Not manually, but graphically inside the software. So let's go through a bit of those different options that are in that manager, and you can get a feel for the kind of stuff that you could do, maybe an idea where you actually want to use it. Let's play around with it and see what we see. So first thing I'd like to mention is these two toolpaths are essentially the same. And if you guys are also paying attention to the YouTube channel, you'll notice that this guy was also loaded this morning as well. This is the chamfer step down option that we were talking about either last week or the week before. I made a video on it, so that is also on our YouTube channel. And we can talk about the YouTube channel maybe at the end of this call if you guys were not already familiar with it, but we do have our own YouTube channel where we load a lot of these videos, recordings of SolidCAM Live. And if you need a link, we can always give it the link to that channel. But this part right here is just using the profile toolpath for chamfering with a little bit of a step down on an angle. But let's say, for instance, there's something about this toolpath that I just don't like, and I'm not finding an option inside the toolpath to really regulate that. I want to go in there and maybe change a data point, relink something. And if I can't find the option inside the toolpath, here's another avenue to go and edit that toolpath. And you can see there's a little bit of a different icon here between the two. These are actually the same toolpath, except this one has been edited slightly to have this movement right here. Now that movement is kind of not practical, but it's there just to show that I made an edit to that toolpath using the toolpath manager. So that icon just highlights the fact that that thing has been edited using the toolpath manager. But how do we get to the toolpath manager? Finally, we'll talk about it. So you can right click on the toolpath, go to toolpath, and then go to edit. Now that's actually different than if you were to right click on the toolpath and go to edit, because what that does is open up the toolpath manager, the one that you're familiar with when you create your toolpath and all that. This toolpath editor, which is kind of a weird different names and all that, but the toolpath editor allows me to actually go in here and actually take a look at it as if it's a series of data points. What I mean by that is, if I go up here and let's say we start with delete a point. If I ask it to delete a point, let's say this point right here, basically asking me, okay, do I want to delete that point? I'll say apply, and that one data point is removed from the toolpath. It actually will recalculate the toolpath without that data point. So if I did my toolpath and I'm going back and forth, and then as I get to that point, rather than retracting to the clearance plane, it's going to go right from there to there. So that same sort of linear move that it was about to do, it actually will just do it to the next data point. So it's almost like I'm editing it manually to do that, but I'm doing it graphically. I can see in real time what that is actually going to result in. And I can do a bunch of other data points here. If I click, let's say on that one, and apply, you can see that I'm just deleting all those points, and then it just recalculates itself. But if I hit cancel and undo, you can get back to the beginning there. The next one is actually a little more interesting as well. Let's say, for instance, this final retraction to the clearance plane, we know it's doing that because inside the toolpath, every time it does any kind of movement away from the part, it's always retracting to the clearance plane to reposition. Or in this case, at the end point, it's retracting to that clearance point before it does the rapid going home. But maybe that's kind of not necessary. The toolpath is doing that for all the heights, but maybe this one exit, I don't necessarily need to worry about it doing that. So rather than going up in the Z direction to 1 inch, let's say I just wanted to go up, let's say just 100 thou. Well, in modify point, I can just modify the coordinates of that one point. Let's see. There is a, where is it here? Hit the escape key. Yeah. Let's just undo that. Let's try that again. Let me exit out of here. And if you guys have seen the video online, I actually did this in the video, but let's say, let's just get out of here. We'll go back into it. So once again, so toolpath edit brings me into the toolpath editor. Okay, and just in case it doesn't like that point, I'm going to start with, let's say, this point right here. So for whatever reason, let's say there is some feature there that I can't use gouge checking for because it's a profile toolpath, but I want to edit that point so it doesn't go that high up. I can always go over here, and I can set it to 100 thou, click apply, and you can see I've changed the coordinate of that one point there. So instead of being at a Z coordinate of 1 inch, it is now at a Z coordinate of 100 thou. So I go in there and I just change something about that data point and it recalculates the toolpath for me. So I'm going to just hit cancel and undo once again. Next up is delete from point to point. Now this one kind of works very similar to, I'm trying to think of what's it called, point to point inside of your chain selection, because what I'm basically doing here is I'm choosing from one point to another point. Let's say this point right here to this point right here. So from that point to that point along the cut, I can tell it to either modify it so that it goes to the clearance plane as well, or I can modify it in a different direction completely. Let's bring this up here. So in my X direction, let's go to the clearance plane of -2 inches. And I guess that's -2 inches there. So what it did was it modified that the movement between those 2 points. It actually added those lead in, lead out that the box is checked there. So it did a little lead in, lead out, and then it went to that clearance plane there. So it modifies the toolpath. So this isn't the best example of how that works, but a better example would be, let's say cancel and go back, is let's say these movements here, these clearance planes. Maybe there's certain points I want it to return to the clearance plane, and then maybe there's somewhere I don't need it to go that high up. Let's go back to delete, and let's see if we can choose from that point to that point. So a couple of loops there, but also it includes that traction there. So let's say from that point to that point, all of that I want to remove and I just want to go direct. I can go direct line. So you can see from the graphic, it's going to go from one point to the other. I'll click apply, and now it has removed all those movements from the toolpath. So this could also be good if you don't have the ability to do any kind of rest operation with a very basic toolpath. You want to just trim out the bit of code that is unnecessary and then just continue with what you have there. That's basically what that has done there as well. I've basically told it, let's hit cancel and undo, and let's actually make that a rapid move. So we'll go back, and we'll choose from that point to that point. And instead of that, let's go fast. So direct line, we'll go fast, apply, and now you can see that it added a rapid move there as well. So again, manual editing of the code, but in a graphical way, rather than going into the actual code and just deleting lines of code. Does that make sense so far? Any questions on that? There's a question pane in the GoToMeeting. You can always reply to that. Kevin, have you seen this before? Have you done any of this sort of stuff before?
Seen it, but haven't really used it much. So.
Yeah, I didn't even know we had this. Like I said, a request came in on the SolidCAM programmers Facebook page, one of our international customers was doing this. There is actually a video from the SolidCAM professor that covers this, but I'm not sure if there's new functions in this one, so that's why I wanted to cover it today. Because like I said, I've never seen it myself. And has anyone in attendance, anyone from the list there, have you guys seen this before as well? Have you used this before? For me, I think this would be a good application for really unique situations. But as you've seen a lot of the functionality inside SolidCAM, there's a lot of these cool little tips and tricks that we cover that really never come up until you're in that one main situation where it's almost like this is the last thing that you have to do. Like there's no other toolpath or function or even an MCO that can cover this. This seems like a modifier for something that'd be really cool. All right, next is, we did from 2, let's go to trim toolpath. Now this one, if you bear with me and let me get my notes, because I don't remember what this one does. It's probably really apparent, but let's get the notes. You can imagine being with a company for 6 years, how long and heavy this notepad is. Okay, so trim toolpath. Okay, so let's go and pick, again, we'll pick from, let's see if we can grab that point. For some reason, my mouse doesn't want to agree with me right now. Here we go, point to, okay, I think I remember this one now. So let's say that one point, we want to trim from that one point to the start of the toolpath. So if the toolpath started over on this line here, once I click apply, it trims all of that to go from that point to begin at that point there, with the same sort of lead in, lead out that I didn't uncheck here. But basically, that's what it is right there. So if, again, for whatever reason, you've generated an entire toolpath, but you only were interested in maybe the last bit of it, and you can't trim it using gouge checking or anything like that, you can always go in here and undo everything to that point. Or if I hit cancel, let's do trim again. We'll do that same point. This time I'll go to the end of the toolpath. So again, maybe there's something about this where I don't want to even go to the end of it. Click apply, and you can see that it trims out the last line of the toolpath. Even further is if we grab this one, we can trim by value. So let's say the toolpath, we don't want it to go past, let's say, actually a really drastic example would be something in the Y direction. So let's say Y, we don't want to go past, let's say Y ½ inch. So it's going to trim out all the bits of this toolpath that go past that point. In this case, this toolpath, pretty much half of it goes on that side. So if I click apply, it only leaves this little bit at the end here. So not the most useful thing for this profile toolpath, but if there was, let's say actually, let's do it with the 3D eye machining that we have here. So let's get out of here. Let's get out of here. And you're not seeing it, but there's a window here that asks me, do I want to exit without save? I'll say yes. Okay, let's actually apply it to this guy because I didn't do this. Oh, it can't be done with the eye machining. Okay, never mind.
Womp, womp.
Womp, womp. SolidCAM live. Okay, so basically, like you saw, if we do a trim toolpath and we do it by trim by value, I basically said, okay, I don't want anything in that direction, and it just trimmed that out. If I say anything, let's say in the Z direction, let's say we don't want anything to be Z 100th thou. Click apply, then it trims the toolpath to do that. Now that, to me, seems a little bit like it'd be practical, because if I don't want it to go up that high, but I still want to get those movements there, that's exactly what I'm looking for. The only thing is that the one coordinate that it was the start point has been trimmed up. So you might need to incorporate that into your lead in, lead out, or trim it a little further. You can even modify this point, because remember, we can go to the modify point and change its Y coordinate or Z or X coordinate so that it starts further out. So not just one application of this, but you can apply all these different modifications to get a toolpath that's a little closer to what you're looking for. Okay, before we move on, I see there's a question from Brian.
And I think you already covered that question by how do you move the start point, or can you move the start point?
Yep, so that was actually this first one here. So modify, let's do that point. Let's see, where is it? Modify point, modify that point. Nope. Let's try that. No, okay. Let's exit out of here, exit without save.
Yeah, I think it's trying to, what's going on is it's trying to save all that data in there, and you're doing multiple things all at once.
Okay, so modify point. We'll modify the start point. To end, click apply, okay. Where's okay? There's no okay.
It's like the screen isn't maximizing for you.
Okay, let me get out of here. And our new friend, close without save, hopefully will save me.
Now, with this toolpath editor, like I said, we don't use it very often, but it is very handy. The only ones that you will not be able to edit the toolpath, kind of like what Mark was showing, is 2D machining and 3D machining, and that's just because of the built-in algorithm that we cannot modify that toolpath there, just because it's all about controlling the angle of engagement of the cut and all that there. So.
Yeah, it's not working. Okay, so let's delete that toolpath. And I'm just going to add a brand new one here. Let's go. Profile. Okay, so I'm just going to whip this thing together real quick. We'll just add our wall draft angle, 45. Okay, so something like that. So let's change the start point by going to Toolpath Edit. Okay, so there's our start point right there. We're going to go Modify Point, grab that point right there. Let's see, I'm going to hit the escape key. Did I click on delete point, modify point? Okay, so let's go modify point. Yeah, so like I said, I never use this one that much, so I'm not sure what is going on, because you saw before, all we do is click on it and it does it, so I'm not sure what's going on here. Let's see, what does this guy do?
So what if we click the point, then the line coming down?
Let me get out of here. Okay, so toolpath edit. There it is, okay. So the line coming down, the reason I'm not doing that is because it says modify points, right? So this one is, you're clicking on the point and then you're modifying it. But let's go modify points. Click on that point. No, click on that.
Okay, can we do it to anything other than the start point?
Yeah, no, it doesn't look like it. Okay, so modify points. Any other point on here? Yep, no. So Brian is suggesting maybe restarting SolidWorks. You've seen error messages. Yeah, I kind of agree. He's saying that if you see error messages, sometimes it's a good idea to restart. Yeah, let's do that. If you guys bear with me, I'm just going to restart it. Oh, let's exit. Get this. And yeah, I'm going to save this new toolpath we added here. Okay, and just in case, let's close this out. So I'm just restarting my SolidWorks. So this is, it's like Kevin said, he's never used this one that often. And like I said, kind of at the beginning, you probably will never actually pull this up and start manipulating like that, because that's not the point. The point is to add your geometries, add your toolpaths to those geometries. You're in a CAM software for that reason. But this can come in handy when you've got that little tweak you have to do, and the recreation of what you would probably have done with a manual change in the code. You know how it is sometimes where you go into the actual G code itself, the actual NC file, and you make a little bit of a change of points, or you know, any kind of little manual edit that comes up a lot, and that's probably never going to be fully replaced. But this right here can help you at least do a little bit of a troubleshooting of that sort of change of a point sort of thing. At least that's how I looked at it when I created the video. So we're just going to pull this up, and then let's see if we can grab. There it is. That's the untouched toolpath. We'll go toolpath edit. Okay, let's try this again. So modify points. That point right there.
And it's not going to work for us.
It's not going to work. And now we see why this probably isn't used that often. Okay, so escape key. Before we run out of time. So basically in response to Brian's question, yes, you could change the start point. That was what that modified point did. You guys saw it a second ago, and I invite you to review the video when we post the video. But for now, okay, so trim, we did that one. Delete segment. Okay, this one is essentially, if it'll work for us, grab that, and this one will work. Okay, so delete segment is like it sounds. It will delete this segment and then just replace it. So let's say we delete, we'll delete that there. We'll do a direct line, click apply, and it deletes those two line segments to do that. So similar to the delete point, except this time I'm actually clicking on actual segments and they're being removed. So hopefully that makes sense. That was delete segment. Okay, so that's deleting, that's editing stuff out of the code. What if you wanted to add stuff? So these ones, I'm not really sure exactly when these would be used, but modify range of segment. If I grab that, let's go between those points. I looked at this one almost like it's a curve and close corners. If you've used that option inside of the chain selection window, this works in a similar way. Let's say I don't want to start just from that point to that point. I want it to move in the X direction. Let's say X is, so let's do a -2" in X and a 2" in Y, and let's just make it, we'll just leave it as that. So when I click apply, from that point to that point, I've actually got it to move out there to those 2 inches and then go to the actual final point. So again, kind of not maybe entirely useful. Maybe if you needed to do something like we saw the other day with the geometry helping out on the programming side of things video, where you saw me take that large T-slot cutter and go into that slot and then down and then do a pocket and then remove in the same direction. You could probably do that same sort of modification here with some finesse with the coordinates here, but given the choice between this and controlling everything by geometry, my choice would be geometry, because I know I can actually do some cool sketching, whereas here, you can see that we would be pretty much plugging in numbers and then getting it to recalculate for us. But this is what this sort of thing would do. You can actually change the positions. So again, kind of going back to maybe Brian's question as well, instead of just changing the point, let's say we change that entire entry movement. You could do that here with the modify segment. You can give it some different angles or different ranges to enter in. Insert points. This one's kind of crazy, but let's see if it works. So if I go from, let's say, that point to that point, and then this is asking me, am I done? Yes. So it basically just inserted whatever it needs to insert to go right from there to there. And it's also waiting for me to insert some more points. So if I wanted to go from, let's say, there to there, then there, and there. And when I am done, I'll hit Q. Am I done? Yes. And then actually going from that point to that point, it takes that trajectory. So by default, it just shows us the direct movement, which we could have done with one of the other options. But if I wanted to insert some movements, I have that there. Now, I tried this when I was creating the video, and I don't think you can click on sketch points here. You actually can only realign everything using the data points from the original toolpath. That's what I saw. But if anyone knows better, or if there's any follow-up and there is a way to use sketch points, we can easily revisit this in a future SolidCAM session. But it looked to me like you're only using this to edit the existing toolpath. So you can delete what's there, or you can only add from what's there. So this would be a good example of your own self gouge checking. If the data is all there, all the data points are still there, but you need to trim out the bit of code that is causing the collision, or you've generated an entire toolpath and you have no other way to trim it using stock recognition or surfacing or anything like that, then you can come in here and actually manually edit all that. Applications of this could be things like maybe if there is a hole in that surface and I don't want to waste time cutting air, or I'm trying to avoid a gouge, I can easily just do some trimming of my own, rerouting the toolpath, a lot of that kind of stuff. But that's pretty much it. Everything else on here is more for visual. Like we saw here, this is the undo button. There's a redo button. I can hide and show the target solid. As you saw me do a couple of times in this session, you can hide and show the coordinate system, the different views. So if I want to see this thing in full screen, if I want to zoom in and out.
Hey, Mark.
Function. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Since we're doing SolidCAM Live, let's, what's the wrench, or what's in our settings? Yep.
It's more visual stuff.
Okay.
So it's tool color. So like we saw over there. Some transparency, rapid movements, coloring. It's all basically just very visual stuff. Yeah, I didn't cover that in the video, but it is purely just the visuals. And then that also leads into what these guys are for as well. So not only can you control the colors of different toolpaths and different visuals and stuff, but you have the different views as well. And if this was turning, then we would use the turning views as well. So any questions on this? Do you even think that you would use this? Because this is the kind of thing that I'm going to hold in my my toolbox waiting to be used, because I'm not really thinking of when I'm going to use it now, but I'm for sure going to use this as an option if there's ever any time where a toolpath is just doing just that one little weird move. Let's say it's a translated surface and our 3D toolpaths are just not reading it well enough because of just the fact that it's been translated. This is a good way to remove any kind of the noise you get with the data points on a translated surface. You can easily just trim out any kind of weird, erroneous movements using this, if you can really zoom in and grab those points. But there is a box selection of points in some of these options as well. You'll notice it when I click on some of these. Let's say if I grab that one, there is a box select. So I can grab all those points and then delete all those points as well. So you can do that to do a box select around a hole or like a bad translated surface area, and then you can just delete those data points, and then as you see, it'll just recalculate to do direct movements between those. But if there are no other questions on this or anything else, we can end the session today. We actually went to the full time, good. But if you have any other questions, especially for this week, for the rest of the month, we'll be doing this for the rest of the month every day at 2 p.m. Eastern time. Kevin's going to put my email into the chat section, and you can send us your questions, your comments, your suggestions, anything related to the channel, anything related to this particular show, series, whatever we want to call it, on the channel. If you guys weren't aware that we do have that YouTube channel, if this is your first time attending a SolidCAM video, welcome. But we put all our videos on that YouTube channel, both the KevCam videos that are every night, what is it, Tuesday night, Kevin, that you have it? Tuesday at 9 Central?
Yep. No, 8 Central.
8 Central, 9 Eastern. So if you guys tune into that, you'll find the recordings of those on the YouTube channel as well, in addition to various tips and tricks videos that we've made over the years. This sort of thing was usually whenever we get a customer request, we make a training video on it. We've been doing them in SolidCAM Live as well, so you'll see a lot of those videos on the YouTube channel. If you want your own personalized training, you can use that email as well to contact me directly with the day and time that you're free. You can get your own personalized training on your parts. Any questions that you feel that you didn't get answered in these videos, you want to get a more personalized one-on-one session. And those go-to meetings use the phone, so you can actually talk to us live with your questions and your comments. If you know anybody that can benefit from SolidCAM, give them our contact info or get them to call us. And if it goes to a demo, you get that $100 gift card. We still got that going on. So if you know anybody that benefits from SolidCAM, please absolutely put them in contact with us. If it goes to sale, you get 20% of that sale. So for that 2 seconds you work for SolidCAM, you're going to get a lot of money. So if you can do that, that'd be great. But like I said, we will be continuing this every day at 2 p.m. Eastern time. Until then, stay safe, keep your family safe, stay busy. We will talk to you guys tomorrow.
All right, see you guys.